Welcome to this SAP Cloud Platform Community Day session on SAP Translation Hub. My name is Markus Daney, and together with Beatrice Pasch, I'm Product Manager for the business service SAP Translation Hub on the SAP Cloud Platform. In this session, we would like to give you an overview about the challenges of language production in SAP software development and SAP Translation Hub's fundamental values and functional scope to solve those challenges. Secondly, give you an overview about SAP Translation Hub's key features and its main use cases before we will have a look at the architecture. After this introduction, my colleagues will then give you an overview about new features and developments before we have the pleasure to introduce you, in the context of some short interviews and demos, to some concrete SAP Translation Hub language technology partner use cases with Kawamura from Japan and Text and Form from Berlin, but also to some product integration scenarios for notes translation, SAP Business by Design, and the SAP Solution Manager Test Steps Designer. Last but not least, we will close this SAP Translation Hub session with an outlook from Thomas Wienold, the Vice President of Language Experience Lab and the main responsible for our technology.
Let us please first have a look into the business problems and translation challenges SAP Translation Hub is solving. The biggest challenges in the past have been that there was simply no standardized translation solution for customers and partners available, which could solve both their ABAP-specific and non-ABAP-specific extensibility translation challenges. For ABAP, SAP Basis Transaction SE63 and LXA Master could help to translate on-premise extensions, but SAP had never offered a solution for non-ABAP development and non-ABAP extensions, for example, in the context of SAP's ERP Java Stack, mergers and acquisitions, or Fiori applications. Also, there was limited access for SAP customers and partners SAP's business-centric and industry-specific translation data. SAP exposed translation software with SE63 and LXA Master, but not translation data, meaning content, which is very relevant to ensure translation consistency on SAP's user interfaces in order to avoid irritations and usage problems on end user side. Finally, no access had been given before to SAP's translation automation capabilities developed for SAP's internal translation production, like, for example, APIs, specific services, and workflows. So value gaps at customers and partner side resulting were inefficient semi-manual translation approaches, for example, using Excel downloads for roll-in of translations from translators and importing those back into systems, resulting with, for example, problems during the import. Excessive translation costs, specifically missing translation data, forced customers and partners to build their own translation memories and terminology databases, which was a cost factor. Suboptimal accuracy of translation content, inconsistencies with standard SAP terminology specifically. All of these value gaps slowed down time to deployment and go-to-market for customer-facing applications. So where can we drive value with our hosted business service SAP Translation Hub, including translation software on the one hand side and translation content, data for reuse on the other side on the SAP Cloud Platform? First of all, we can reduce total cost of ownership for our customers and partners for their SAP software extensibility challenges. We can increase the reuse of SAP's high-quality translation data and customers and partners' own data as well. And with this, we can improve overall translation accuracy and consistency between SAP standard software and customer-specific extensions on the UIs of integrated end-to-end business process scenarios. So at the end of the day, we allow for a faster go-to-market of customer-facing applications. Integrated translation based on intelligent language data reuse and machine learning. What does it mean? So first of all, to pinpoint one of our most important features, we made use of our SAP HANA database to store the treasure of our SAP translation experience over the last 40 years. And not only store the data in a bilingual database, like the usual translation technology does, but in a multilingual vector. We developed a machine translation service trained with SAP's translation data treasure to complement SAP Translation Hub's value proposition, meaning offer proposals where SAP has not delivered translations in standard software so far. We offer 40 languages in a bi-directional way, not only from English to Chinese, but also from Chinese to English, which is possible because of the patent of the multilingual vector in the multilingual text repository and the availability of trained machine translation systems for both language directions. We developed APIs so that translation can be easily accessed via the internet, that the services can be easily technically integrated into customers and partner solution environments, and finally, that this can be easily integrated in the SAP end-to-end development and language production process with a suggestion service, which offer quality assured source text during the development process, and a translation service which allow for on-the-fly translation. These APIs can be consumed individually, but also combined in an automated workflow in SAP Translation Hub as a standalone solution. But integration for us also meant integration of customer data. Customer data can be centrally stored in the multilingual text repository for reuse in order to simplify our customers and partners' SAP translation processes so that they are not forced to use and administrate different technologies. We offer an editing UI to integrate humans into the translation process in order to correct proposed translation for a more appropriate future reuse. And last but not least, a quality index to improve efficiency of the language production process and actually also save costs and time. SAP Translation Hub is supporting translation of ABAP short text in an SAP Business Suite or an SAP S/4HANA context. And we had a high demand from our customers and partners to support this. SAP Translation Hub is and can be also integrated in the Fiori development process end-to-end. For example, in SAP Web IDE with a suggestion service API which allows developers to select already quality assured source text from SAP Translation Hub during development, and integrated fast translation turnaround with the translation service API, which is also integrated. It is an integrated product capability in the, as already mentioned before, Web IDE, but also iOS SDK Assistant app, and also SAP Business by Design, for which we have prepared an interview with the responsible developers later on. And last but not least, a document translation service allowing for translation of Microsoft Office formats as a reaction to high SAP customer and partner demands on our conferences. My colleagues will later on introduce you into these new features. Now let's go into the architecture quickly. The SAP Translation Hub architecture allows to efficiently manage on-premise and cloud extension translation processes and thus underlines the value of SAP Cloud Platform to innovate with cloud-based integrated services, and specifically in our case to support our customers and partners with the translation of extensions of our software in hybrid system landscape. SAP Translation Hub is deployed on SAP Cloud Platform Neo. The service consumption works through a subscription mechanism. As you can see, it integrates with the SAP Cloud Platform with the services provided by SAP Cloud Platforms such as the SAP ID service, and communicates with the SAP Cloud Platform Git repository. There is a multi-tenant app. It contains the translation workflow Java part and the orchestration part of the different text providers like the multilingual text repository and the machine translation. All other services are called from here and consumed. The conversion service is deployed in the Cloud Platform. It accesses the HANA database and the Cloud Platform document service to convert, for instance, property files to XLIF 1.2 files, a standard translation industry format for further processing. We have the HANA database where the translation data, the logs, the customer data, and project data are stored. On the one hand side, we have the multilingual text repository provided by the XS services, which contains the SAP translations in a multilingual vector, like explained before. But there's also the company MLTR. It is created by using customer data integration service, which allows customers to upload their own terminology and translation, so to have all the translation assets in one single place. In the context of customer data integration, different backend services are accessed via the respective facades, through the backend abstraction layer. Two types of MLTRs are supported here. The XLIF MLTR, this was the translation industry standard, and ABAP MLTR. If an on-premise customer implements the ABAP remote function call layer through a node, it is also possible to connect the system to the SAP Translation Hub offering on the SAP Cloud Platform. The ABAP remote function call deployed into customer's NetWeaver ABAP system acts as a wrapper to access ABAP source text from the SAP Cloud Platform and to write the translated text back to the NetWeaver system. Communication is secured through the SAP Cloud Connector, which is installed in the customer's intranet. The Cloud Connector communicates with the customer's subscription of SAP Translation Hub on the SAP Cloud Platform. The configuration is done via destinations. The core SAP Translation Hub services are triggered from the UI and invoke the ABAP client to take care of the communication to the customer system, and the XS importer service to import the ABAP text to the HANA database. We have machine translations. The machine translation broker connects through an SAP on-premise cloud connector to the machine translation backend. The machine translation backend is hosted in the SAP intranet and connected via the cloud connector to the SAP Cloud Platform. With the summary slide, we'll give you a reference to a lot of comprehensive information material which gives you the possibility to follow up. We will provide these slides to you so that you can click on those links here and access the different information channels. Here you have also an email address where you can contact us directly, and we are happy to answer your mails. And with this, I hand over to my colleagues to give you an overview about our new features and enhancements.
Thank you, Marcus, and welcome everyone. I am Ana Medina. I am Product Manager at SAP Language Experience. Let me tell you in a nutshell the characteristics of the new document translation service available in SAP Translation Hub since August 2020. SAP Translation Hub enables the translation of UI text and strings, as well as the use of several language resources, such as the SAP Multilingual Language Repository. It's also possible to translate or correct the target text as part of different translation workflows. With the new document translation service, you can now translate entire documents of different formats and lengths, and you get back the document translated in the original file format. We offer two APIs to connect to the service. Both APIs handle documents that are up to 100 megabytes in size. If your document contains up to 1 million characters, you can use the synchronous API, and the translation can be retrieved upon the completion of the task. If your document is up to 2.5 million characters, you can use the asynchronous API to translate it. And you can retrieve the translation at any time within 3 days after completion. You can also query on the translation status until the translation is available. When talking about formats, it's important to make a difference between this service and other functionalities that are already available in STH. So we have also prepared a guideline to help you decide when to use what. You can take a look at this documentation that's available in the SAP Help portal, and you can try it out using the SAP API Hub. I'm going to show you how you can test the new document translation service using SAP API Hub. First of all, you need to configure your environment using the credentials to access the API. I've done this using my test API. You have two different ways to consume the API. You can use the synchronous API for files under 1 million characters, and you can use the asynchronous API for files up to 2.5 million characters. With the asynchronous API, you can get the translation or the translated. With the synchronous API, you can get the translated file right after the task has finished. In this case, I'm going to translate from German into English. You can use this service to translate HTML documents and TXT documents encoded using UTF-8. You can also translate DocX, XLSX, PPTX, and XLIF 1.2. You see, now my file is available. and has been translated into English. You can also use the asynchronous document translation API. In this case, I'm going to translate from English into Italian. You can use this request here to get the status of your task. For this, you need to use the job ID that you get from this task. As you see, the status is done. So I can also use the latest request to get the job back. And as you see now, the file is translated into Italian. We look forward to hear back from you.
Namaste, and a very warm welcome to one and all present. On behalf of Language Experience Labs and Team STH here in India, I take immense pleasure in presenting to you the all-new SAP Translation Hub user interface. This is how the new STH UI looks, and apart from the difference in the look and feel that you must have noticed, there are also a lot of features that have been added into which we shall delve during the course of this demo. So without wasting much time, I'll get started. The homepage shows us a list of the previously translated projects and also gives an option to add a new Git, ABAP, or a file project. I'll select Git and enter a dummy name for my project. You can specify the domain to give more context to the translations and make them more accurate for your use case. We have the source language, a huge list of target languages to choose from. I'll select German for now. In the Git Server Configuration, we have three options. If your application repository is hosted on the SAP Cloud Platform, then you need to select the first option and only provide the application name here. Whereas, if your repository lies in GitHub Web or GitHub Enterprise, you can select the respective option and provide the Git URL, which I will do for one of my demo repositories. Next, you need to add the credentials. Now, this is not a mandatory step, but in case you skip it now, you will be prompted to enter the credentials once you have translated the files and want to push them to your GitHub account. However, we recommend you to enter the credentials now because it comes with a feature. Next, we need to specify the path of the source files to be translated. Because I have given my credentials earlier, I get this drop-down with a list of all the files in my Git project which are supported for translation. I can select any of them, and I can also specify the folder structure to which I want to push the translated files, which by default are pushed to the parent folder of this properties file, which is I18N here. When I click on Add, the source file count goes up to 1, indicating that one file is ready for translation. A new feature with this UI is that we can also add multiple source files. I'll do that and add my second properties file here. And now two files are ready to be translated simultaneously. I'll go back to the details page to talk about the advanced settings. So we have an option to skip the non-ASCII characters because a few browsers don't support them. There is also an option to retain your earlier translations. So if you have already translated your project earlier and you like your translations, but there are a few more words for which you want to translate, you can select this option and STH will only translate the additional words for you. As part of the translation workflow steps, we have post-editing required and review required here. I'll select both of these to show their functionality. Finally, we have the company MLTR. I will click on Save Changes and my project should be created. Once that's done, I get an option to either translate and push directly to my GitHub account or translate without push. I will select the second option as I want to post-edit and review my translations. We can see that the execution has started and the progress can be viewed in this progress bar below. There is also an option to stop the transactions in case it's taking too long and we can retry after that. We will wait for a few more seconds before that's done, and when that happens, we should be able to see a translations and an executions tab up here. Yeah, that's done. I'll click on the translations tab and we can see all our translations. The respective source files, the source text, the translated text, the translation provider, whether it's the MLTR or the SAP MT. We can see the quality index of the translations and their status in the translation lifecycle. This is the translation lifecycle, which begins with the initial phase, wherein the translation is not present. In post-editing, we can choose to edit any of the translations which we don't like. So I'll just add 1, 2, 3 here. And when I finish post-edit, then it should move from post-editing to review. Now in review, we can either approve or reject the translation. If you reject it, it goes back to post-editing. When I approve it, it goes to reviewed. Now I'll push my translations to Git, and we can see that the execution has begun again. At this point of time, let's talk about this execution tab. Okay, I should have saved my changes, but then it's okay. I'll just click yes here. And while the translations are being pushed to Git, we can check this executions tab, which is a new feature again in the UI. So whenever you do a translation or you push your files to Git, you get a status update whether it's successfully executed or it has failed in the executions tab. And hence, the customer can themselves know from the executions tab whether the transactions have been successful. Earlier, we had one successful transaction for the successful translation of our source files, but a few moments back, the second transaction was added here, indicating that our translations have been successfully pushed to Git. And I will verify the same by going back to my GitHub account and seeing that 2 new properties files have been added for the German language coming from STH Translation Update. I'll open the file to see that my post edit for Hello World has been successful. Coming back to the home page, I would like to quickly go through the file and the ABAP project scenario. The file project is the simplest of all, wherein you need to provide the project name, the domain, the source and the target languages, and the file type, which can be one of these. I will leave that to Java properties file right now. We have similar advanced settings, but retain earlier translations is not supported here. Once I click on Save Changes, my project is created, and I can upload a file from my local system. And I can also specify the folder structure to which the translations should be downloaded. By default, it would be downloaded to the Downloads folder of your local system. Next, for the ABAP project, customers need to create and activate the object lists from their on-premise ABAP system, after which they can come to STH and create their project, enter the domain, source, and target languages again, and select their on-premise ABAP system, and provide the object list or select from the list provided. Once they do that, they can select the advanced settings of post-editing and reviewing it, and then click on Save Changes to generate their project, and after which they get an option to translate and send the object list back to the ABAP system. Finally, I would like to conclude by mentioning that the old STH UI was tightly bound with the backend, whereas this new UI makes use of public APIs to achieve loose coupling and hence keeps the backend and frontend independent of each other. I would like to thank you all for listening in and hope you enjoy using the new SAP Translation Hub user interface.
Hello, my name is Gerdien Meijering. I'm responsible for SAP Language Service Partner Program from SAP Globalization Services. And in this interview, I would like to tell you a little bit more about where to get support for translation projects with SAP Translation Hub or reviewing translation proposals. Of course, we recommend to work with SAP Language Service Partners for these services. Those partners can combine SAP Translation Hub with other tools and also add their own value to the service. SAP Language Service Partners are also the recommended go-to partners and for a one-stop shop for all other SAP language related services. You can find them via the SAP Partner Finder, but there's also a dedicated website. Two partners will now share their STH experience with us. In this interview, I will be speaking to Mr. Martin Lüdecke, Director SAP Consultancy, representing our partner Text and Form in Berlin in Germany. Good morning, Martin. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Gerdien.
Could you briefly introduce your company and its relationship to SAP and the SAP ecosystem?
Sure. Text and Form is a SAP translation partner and language consultancy partner. And we offer translation services in areas such as software localization, technical translation, and audiovisual content. But one of our main focuses is on what we call SAP translation. Which may be something completely different for you, but for us it means basically helping customers and partners of yours, partners of SAP, customers of SAP, during translation projects in their SAP systems, basically, which can occur during an international rollout, let's say, means translating custom developments, translating customizing entries, and basically any other custom text that you can find or that you can create in an SAP system. And just to add maybe for the technical part of these projects, basically Text and Form partners basically with my own company, which I also represent, which is called Lüdecke. And we are basically responsible for the translation tools part and the consultancy part.
Yeah. Okay. Already a great example of ecosystem working well. Thank you. And when you deliver language services to SAP customer, how do you use SAP Translation Hub and how is it received by the customers?
We were basically there from the beginning, so we have quite a bit of customer input on that. I believe we were one of the first to integrate SAP Translation Hub also into our own tools. And today we have it live on, or we have used it on dozens of ABAP and Fiori translation projects. And what we usually do basically is access the API of SAP Translation Hub. So for the customer, it's a bit abstracted away. It's part of our offering, and it works in the background. But of course, customers are really interested in the actual SAP Translation Hub product as well, and reach out to us about that also. And from their perspective, basically the process of getting translation suggestions from SAP Translation Hub, working that into their project, and most importantly, having that reviewed by our translators, right? Because that is also the service that we provide. There's been a pretty good response to that. One of the main factors is obviously cost, right? The cost reduction aspect that SAP Translation Hub brings. And that's especially important in the ABAP-based projects where we use it in, where the scope can sometimes be very large. So that's a significant help.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Well, what would you say is the most useful feature or the most useful use case for SAP Translation Hub?
Right. Well, for us, since we basically exclusively work with the SAP Translation Hub API, it's the API features that interested us the most and that we do the most with. What we really like and what we think is a really good innovation is the MLTR, the multilingual text repository, and the way that languages texts are connected to each other across multiple languages. So basically, the more languages you feed into SAP Translation Hub, the better results you get. We really like that feature.
Yeah.
Right. And that's also something that we make use of using our tools. And maybe one more thing that I can think of is the new simulation feature that was just released, I think, a few months ago. And that's also something we use basically to analyze what we can get from SAP Translation Hub before we actually pull the text and before actually also payment happens, obviously.
Yeah.
So these are two features that we like.
Yeah. Okay. So one is important in scoping the simulation tool.
Exactly. Yes.
The other is really important in getting the very best results and the highest quality of proposals by combining proposals from multiple languages.
Yes.
Thank you. And yeah, maybe we already covered it, but can you maybe explain how you as a partner add value to a service like STH, or what your added bonus is?
Yeah. Obviously, one way where we contribute is the implementation part. SAP Translation Hub can completely be used as a standalone, so it's not necessary to basically use all our tools that are attached to it, and the SAP standard functionality is already pretty complete there. But we obviously bring a few tools to the table that we have integrated SAP Translation Hub into, or that we connect to SAP Translation Hub, maybe to say it more correctly. That's the deep integration between our tools. SAP Translation Hub is maybe the most important thing that we bring to the table. For example, it's right now it's not only even ABAP-based projects anymore, but because we also attack SAP Fiori translation process basically from the other side, from the ABAP side, and have a new tool for that, for translating Fiori text that also integrates with SAP Translation Hub. So that's something that we bring to the table.
Okay, and I'll say, what does the customer notice in the end when you do that? So,
well, for them, basically, it's a lot of automation. So a lot less work. For example, if you have someone who wants to manage translation on the customer side, that's a big help, right? But let's say in a complete outsourcing scenario, the only thing that the customer notices is hopefully the good translation quality and the costs going down, right?
Yeah.
So these are two aspects.
So the one-stop shop concept and lower costs, basically.
Exactly. Yes.
Good. So thanks a lot for this. Anything else that we haven't discovered that you really want to share with us?
Yeah, maybe one final thing. I've been working with you guys obviously a lot, and giving feedback for SAP Translation Hub and making new suggestions. And I've been really impressed with the way you guys listen and basically integrate the partner contribution right into the product and make everything work together. So thanks for that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Martin, for this great interview. Thank you. Goodbye. We are now on our second interview with a language service partner who has been using SAP Translation Hub quite a lot. So I'd like to welcome Mr. Kozo Moriguchi. He is the CEO of the company Kawamura International from Tokyo, Japan. Welcome, Kozo. Thank you for joining us today. And I'd like to ask you some questions on your experience with SAP Translation Hub. So maybe to start with, you could briefly introduce your company and your relationship to SAP and the SAP ecosystem.
Thank you. My name is Kozo Moriguchi, and my company, Kawamura International, has a 35-year history in translation and localization industry. And as a certified SAP language service partner since 2008, we've been working for SAP to localize UIs and other related documentation of SAP products. Not only ERP ABAP systems, but also non-ABAP solutions such as SuccessFactors, Concur, and Ariba.
And I think, you also joined the partner program, so you are both a supplier and a partner to SAP. That's probably important to know. So when you deliver language services to SAP end customers, how do you use STH exactly, and how is that received by the customers?
Well, first of all, STH is a powerful solution for UI localization, especially for multilingual projects. If belong to one of the big enterprises who need to deliver SAP add-ons or apps into several language pairs at once, you should use SCH. You can simply reduce the time for the preparation and delivery, and also translation cost, since you benefit from SAP translation, and as well as its multilingual text repository, so-called MLTR. So ideally, we should use SAP's MLTR first, and then we leverage a customer MLTR, and then SAP machine translation.
Yeah.
That way, you can reduce the translation workloads as much as possible, right? And one thing I have to mention is our customers are not familiar with STH.
Okay.
Its features, I think they are surprised to know SAP has a machine translation tool.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And that tool is specific application domains such as financial and logistics and sales and so on. So that is really powerful too.
Yeah, yeah. So they're actually pleasantly surprised that you can make use of, let's say, the multilingual text repository, which are all, let's say, the historical translations from SAP, then complemented with their own historical data, which they already have. And then for what's left, use the SAP machine translation and then get a complete package of, let's say, high quality SAP translations.
Exactly.
That's really good. And do you notice that the customers prefer you to handle everything because they did not know SAP Translation Hub?
Yes, in fact, no customers so far have known about STH in our customers. So especially Japanese market, they're focused, they'd like to know about machine translation more, but they don't know, they're not familiar with SAP Translation Hub.
Yeah, okay.
It's unfortunate.
Well, I think we're working on that and you're working on that, so that's good. What would you say is the most useful feature of Translation Hub or the best use case?
As I mentioned, SCH supports domain-specific machine translation. So, which is actually a really unique feature compared to other machine translation services. SAP Translation Hub is indeed a hub of the SAP translation system landscape. That means you can localize your UIs of add-ons and using remote function call. Of course, you can localize your non-ABAP software. And lastly, you can even consume the service, STH services through the API. So these features are very helpful for us because each customer has a different demand, and we need to address to their needs. STH is the best solution to address to those customers' needs.
Yeah. So and the API enables you to be flexible in how you use it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Very good. Let's say, how do you as a partner add even more value to the features of STH? So what's your special contribution?
We are one of the language service partners, but as a language service partner in Japan, Japan is a bit different market. So we need to focus on the requirements from those customers' needs. And their translation varies from software applications to other daily documents such as email communication between developers and like specification, technical specification, or even request for proposals. So we need to address to these requirements. So in order to do that, we developed the plugins with third-party translation tools through the API. So API is really helpful for us, and so customer can outsource the post editing. Like after translation, you need to edit edit and correct the text. We call it the post editing, and so our customer can outsource that task to translate the documents in an effective way.
Okay, very good. So the translators can work, let's say, in their normal tools with a plugin that you built.
Yes, that's a, that's partner. Partner can do that. So
yeah, very good. Thank you. And anything else you'd like to share from your experience with STH, what we have not yet covered?
Well, it's very simple. When customers need to outsource a translation project or they want to STH, I think the contacting one of the SAP Language Service partners would be the best solution, because SAP translation system landscape is a bit somewhat, complex. And translators and post editors need to be familiar with the rules and especially SAP terminologies, when you're translating SAP documents. So experienced SAP language service partners like us can offer what the best way, the effective way using SAP Translation Hub. So my message is, find your local SAP language service partners.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot for sharing this with you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Hi, Fiona. Please let us know in which SAP area are you working and what's your role there?
Hi, my name is Fiona Murphy. I'm the Translation Service Owner for SAP Notes and KVAs at Globalization Services Language Experience.
Which translations challenges did you face in SAP Notes translation?
In our service, we deal with unpredictable yet generally high volumes of new or updated content that requires a fast turnaround to help our customers with issues such as program errors, legal changes, and so on. Before we started using machine translation via STH, we relied on professional human translators to deliver our content into German, English, and Japanese on demand. We wanted to be able to provide machine translations at all times for our customers, so they always have access to some form of translation. And we also wanted to expand our language scope in the service to support our global customer base better.
Which business benefit did you need to achieve?
2 customer engagement initiatives showed us that our customers would rather have access to a machine translation of a document than have no access to translation or to access an outdated translation. So the STH is enabling us to really deliver this to our customers so that they always have the access to the translations at any time, even outside of our office hours.
How could SAP Translation Hub tackle the translation challenges and generate the business benefits you wanted to achieve?
To use our solution, you simply access SAP One Support Launchpad. You enter the document number that you want to view, and you click to access that document. You then can choose the Languages tab to choose from the full list of languages on offer. We have 9 languages available for English documentation, and German is available, English is available for German source documentation. If we choose one of the languages here, you can choose whatever language you prefer. The machine translation appears in seconds, and you've got the correct format just like it's displayed in the source document. And the addition here is the alert, just to remind you that it's a machine translation that has not been checked for accuracy. And you can provide feedback to our team as well about the quality, the speed of performance, anything you like to our BCP component that's listed here.
Are there any learnings from SAP Translation Hub usage you would like to share?
Machine translation via SAP Translation Hub has really helped us to scale up our translation service to deliver more translations in more languages faster than ever before. In first half year of 2020, we've delivered almost 250% more translations than in the same period last year. So this is really exciting for us as a service, and this extra addition to our service is just really helping our customers access the content they need when they need it in the languages they prefer. The implementation is very user-friendly, and as you've seen, the solution is very fast and impressive. The fact that the machine translations are trained on SAP specific content is very important for our service because our content is very specific to SAP products. We have had some challenges with terminology and more complex sentence structures, but we've been working very closely with the team to improve the quality over time, and we've already seen impressive improvements since we started using the solution. We look forward to continuing to use the service, see the usage grow for our service, and we look forward as well to improving the feedback options that we provide for it.
Many thanks for your insights, Fiona. Hi Tobias, please tell us, in which SAP area are you working and what is your role there?
Hi Marcus, I work in the area of application lifecycle management and I help to improve our ALM products as being part of the development team. We implement new functionalities regarding to ALM, especially for SAP Solution Manager, and my special focus there is also the test management and how we can help customers to create manual test scripts with SAP Solution Manager.
Could you please explain the translation problem you need to solve in Solution Manager and how this is related to the business benefit you want to generate with your solution?
So what we face typically at customer side is when it comes to test cases, that we have a lot of content there, a lot of different test cases, especially for international customers across all kind of countries and therefore also in different languages. And usually when it comes to different languages, you have the typical problems that you either could invest in doing a manual translation or do some sort of outsourcing, which is both rather expensive.
How did you solve the problem before you used SAP Translation Hub?
Yeah, what customers usually do is they buy in some sort of translation service, some professional translation company, and pay a lot of money for that, and also have some time-consuming translation processes. And this is what they do, or they eventually would even take the Google Translate or comparable translation offerings, which means they would even lose their data protection in terms of their business content. So this is really something that is a practical problem.
Would you please show us shortly how you are using SAP Translation Hub to solve your business problem?
What we can see here is our application lifecycle management tool, SAP Solution Manager, and I'm here in the Fiori Launchpad in my role of a test manager. And if I take a look at an existing test case, I will just go to the application called Test Steps Designer. And I will pick this test case here, which is available in some languages, but not in all. So if we take a look, I will start here in the English translation, and I can see a very rough description of the test case, standard cost calculation, and I can see the actual content, which should be available for my testers not only in English, but also in other languages. So I can see here basically 3 steps, like create costing run, some expected result at the end. And this is something I want to present to testers, maybe not only in English spoken countries, but also in Latin America, where we would have different languages, or maybe even in France. And what I can do here now, I can switch to a different language, like French, for example. And I will get an information that this test case is not available in French yet. So I get here this warning, and that I have a fallback language being loaded in English. And the question is now, how do we get to a French translation? And so far, what we would have to do is really a manual translation using external tools like Google Translate or whatever, or we would have to outsource this to an external company. But with Translation Hub, I can directly integrate this here. So I just switch to edit mode, click on this translation button. I will pick as source language the English language and target language is French. I press translate, wait some seconds, and then the test case is being translated. I will immediately see the result. And you can see all the steps are immediately being translated. My French is not that good. I cannot evaluate the quality here now, but at the end, I guess it's rather good. And this is at least our feedback that we also get from customers. So this is really helpful because we have it directly in place inside of the application. And what we use of Translation Hub is the API that is being offered. And this makes it really easy to translate a lot of content into different languages.
What exactly did improve compared to your previous translation solution?
Yeah, for sure. So what really improved compared to the previous situation is that it's much more efficient to do it because we have it right in the application as a built-in functionality. We don't have to go to a different place to do a translation. We don't have copy and paste routines at this stage anymore, and it's also more cost efficient because we don't have to get a third party being involved to translate our content, and this at the end again then saves time because we have the translation available immediately and not some weeks later.
Many thanks for your valuable insight. Is there anything else you would like to share with us?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to some functionalities that might come in future or that I really would like to position here, of course. For example, we would be interested in translating Office documents because test steps is just one type of document that could be translated. I think the translation of complete documents is also something that would be beneficial for our customers that store a lot of things inside of Solution Manager, and this sometimes is really based on Office documents.
Hi, Stefan. Which translation challenges and business challenges were you facing in SAP Business by Design?
At the time when the first customers started to implement by design in non-localized countries, they found that only a limited set of languages was available for those countries, potentially one of the, I believe, 9 languages that are delivered in standard. By design also has limited inbuilt translation capabilities, mainly in the business content area. Thus, the possibility to have a customer-specific language is very limited, and also delivering customer-specific language packages is mostly not an option because of costs. Thus, scaling out Business by Design to non-localized countries proved to be quite difficult.
Which solution was in place before introducing SAP Translation Hub?
We have built the language adaptation tool in order to be able to introduce customer languages into the system. However, the beta version only allowed the upload of translations via an Excel file or manual translation in the system. This didn't prove to be a valid approach because of the numbers of translation required. If you think about it, the total system will contain something on the order of 200 until 300,000 total text distributed in the different text types, UI texts, code texts, messages and report texts. And of course, this is nothing that you would want to implement manually in the system. Therefore, consuming translations delivered from SAP Translation Hub and automatically importing them into the text pools was the logical consequence.
How did you try to solve these challenges on your own?
At the very beginning, we were thinking about provisioning an interface to the outside world such that we could also use other translation providers. Of course, Google Translate would have been an option. The big advantage that we have when using the SAP Translation Hub is, of course, that we have verified and validated SAP terminology, and we have an internal the possibility to have an internal tool that makes the overall alignment and implementation of the service and the potential enhancement that we would require much easier.
How do you use SAP Translation Hub for your use case?
The language adaptation tool collects text elements from the system depending on the scope the user has defined. These text elements contain the source text and some technical attributes that are required to find the best possible translation. This list is then sent to SAP Translation Hub, who evaluates the details and returns the best matching translation by design. This translation together with a quality index is then stored in the text pools, and the users can review the text pools and the translations, for example, based on the quality figures returned, and review and redefine the text pools according to their needs.
How have you and SAP by Design customers benefited from using SAP Translation Hub?
The biggest benefit of using SAP Translation Hub is, of course, the vastly increased speed by which translations can now be provided to the system. This enables partners and customers to implement a fully localized country version, including a new language, in a reasonably short time frame. Just on June the 1st, a customer went live with the entire system translated to Finnish with the use of SAP Translation Hub. And overall, we have some very good feedback from the community since the go live of the combined solutions of Language Adaptation Tool and SAP Translation Hub.
Many thanks for your valuable information. Maybe one additional question, please. What ideas do you have to improve SAP Translation Hub?
The Language Adaptation Tool evolves, and we are continuing to close gaps. Thus, we would also appreciate if the SAP Translation Hub evolves and increases its scope. The scope increase should cover ideally two areas. First of all, the translation depths of the 42 languages that are currently available is not equal across all languages. Thus, for a weak language, that means for a language where there is not so much translation being provided by SAP Translation Hub, customers have to do much more manual rework in order to complete the language version in by design. Secondly, of course, it would be ideal if the numbers of languages overall can be increased such that we can use SAP Translation Hub to scale out by design to even more countries in the world. Thank you.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I also want to give you some words to our offering SAP Translation Hub. As the head of the unit, I'm very proud to be able to have such a product and be able to offer it to the ecosystem and potential customers. I think we have an exemplary offering with this because it is much more than just machine translation. Actually, what you get with it is access to decades of professional translation on professional material, SAP UI material, content material in many different languages, and the access to these professional translations via the multilingual text repository is one of a kind in the industry. It will enable you to do translations more efficient, more precise at a very low cost basis and in a very secure environment. Also, this is not a given as of today. So we hope that we could gain your interest with this video. I can just say thank you to all of the presenters highlighting the capabilities of this tool. And having a look at the current situation, we see around the globe that the interest and the necessity for translations is skyrocketing for various reasons. There are more and more virtual events. There's more and more need to communicate in many different languages, also business context, and enable the interaction with software in a better understanding, and of course also translate surrounding material that may be customer specific. So this purpose is really supported by the SAP Translation Hub. And we also think that it will provide a very good access to high quality at low cost and being adapted towards your need. And of course, this tool is also something that will continue improving quality over time. We also will try to market this on more platforms. So we are very much looking forward to engage on this path with you as customers, partners, or suppliers in the language space, and hope it is our contribution from SAP that you can do your business more efficient and with higher quality. With that, I would like to close, and I hope that this collection of different presentations really has given you some more insight in it, and that I can welcome you as one of the future customers of this product. Thank you very much.